All right, so finally we see Bitcoin kind of hovering over that 60K mark. I mean, if we look here at the, 1 day past 24 hours, we saw Bitcoin finally hit over that 63K mark, which is pretty insane. I mean, this is the closest I think we've ever been to the previous all-time high for Bitcoin pre-halving. So if you guys are a fan of crypto gaming and information like this, I bring your attention. Consider subscribing to the channel and liking the videos. Your support means everything. So again, if we look here at Bitcoin right now, it's trading at about over $61,000. Again, we saw it over the the 1 day here, the 24 hours go up over 7%, which is an insane move on Bitcoin in a day. I think at the peak of it, it was like 8 or 9% right there when it wicked up to about, again, just shy of 64K. I mean, we can go down here and see, the previous all-time high is about 69 grand. So, I mean, the fact that we are closing in rapidly on the previous all-time high is insane, especially when we look at the Bitcoin halving is actually coming up here in less than 60 days from now. I believe it puts us about April to May-ish, around there. I mean, there's plenty of time to close in that gap, especially when we look here at the previous cycles here. I mean, we can see here previous Bitcoin all-time highs, the double top of 2021 here, how it kind of went up to about 60K. The summer kind of, pulled back a little bit for anyone who had missed out that initial pump, and then it peaked up at, I believe it was the 28th of November, around there. November 10th was the Bitcoin all-time high last time. So again, so many people are saying that this cycle is going to be different. With ETF news, now we have, Wall Street getting involved, and that's all true. But again, it is hard to argue the previous 4 year cycle, although this cycle is being completely different in my opinion. I mean, I think the bear market was about a year, about 30% shorter than the previous bear market, and now this bull run is kind of, ahead of schedule, especially with Bitcoin's recent move here. Now, a lot of people are going to, be speculating on what Bitcoin does from here. Do we return to those upper to mid 50, K Bitcoin levels? Is Bitcoin going to sustain this over 60K, getting closer to that all-time highs? I mean, that's just something the next couple, days and weeks are going to tell us. Again, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of your opinion there on Bitcoin's price action. Now, how I plan on capitalizing this bull market, when we look at previous bull cycles, we know that, when Bitcoin does well, typically, all the money is getting shoved into Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin does well, once we see it kind of hit that local top, it'll kind of retract. And then the money just flows down, so it goes from Bitcoin to Ethereum to the top 10 coins here. So if we're looking at the top 10, and again, none of this is financial advice, just letting you guys know my thoughts and some of my plans I have going into this bull market, especially now that we're seeing Bitcoin, kind of behave the way that it is. When we look here across the top 10, obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's hard to be betting against those, but if you're looking for the big gains and more, again, out of the top 10, 20 coins, I'd be looking at something like a Solana, an Avalanche. Those are probably the two blockchains, L1s that I'm pretty bullish on, again, that are on this, higher end of the altcoin list. I mean, even something like Polygon, I think hasn't ran as hard as Solana and Avalanche. I think it is going to have that time in the sun here, this bull market. Other than that, in the top 10, not a whole lot of crazy things. I mean, Immutable X, is it's encroaching into that top 20 coins. But, one narrative that we always talk about here on this channel is crypto gaming. Now, I think when, we're looking across all the hottest sectors, I think it's going to be, personally, I think it's going to be gaming, AI, and, layer ones and layer twos usually do well as well. Again, going back to that Avalanche, Solana, Polygon, just to name a couple. Another one, again, I think AI is going to do very well as well. It's not a niche I'm as big on, just research-wise. I'm very bullish on it. I just don't know nearly enough about it as much as I do with gaming. So we'll touch on that towards the end of the video. So if you're interested, just stick around. But if we look at gaming here, what is in a sense, the Bitcoin of crypto gaming? Well, it's Immutable X. If we look here at Immutable X, where it's sitting is about a $4.6 billion market cap. And it's hard to, deny that Immutable X has had a good run over the 1 year. I think it's up about a 2 to 3x here. So yeah, I mean, we saw it go from really as low as around 50 cents level all the way up to almost pushing over that $3.50, almost that $4 range. And, again, I think Immutable X is, probably going to be one. It is, in my opinion, going to be a top 20 coin. It's already so close, and I think that's a no-brainer to me. I think if any crypto gaming coin, altcoin breaks the top 10, it's going to be Immutable X. I think it's personally going to be in between Immutable X or between something like Beam, but Immutable X has the most games building on their blockchain. So it's been around, it's kind of a proven, stature in the crypto gaming market. So I think Immutable X, if you're looking at just having broad exposure to your portfolio for gaming, I think Immutable X is where a lot of people are going to be starting. Beam, obviously, we see here Beam, Merit Circle's Avalanche subnet here that they made end of 2023. Obviously, it's also had a good run. I mean, this thing launched November of 23 at about a $300 million market cap, and it just shot up to about almost a $2 billion market cap here very recently. And I think I see Beam, honestly, as, a 10, 20, $30 billion token, depending on how crazy this bull market goes, which means, and this is one of those arguments that I kind of do like to bring up. It's not, always set in stone, but people always say, well, you need to go to a $1 to $10 million coin, altcoin in market cap to get that 100x. No, you don't. I mean, especially when we look at something like Binance from last bull cycle, it was, I think, in the billions, and it 100x at the peak of the bull market. You look at Beam here, it launched at about, again, that $300 million market cap. And if this thing gets to $30 billion, which is not crazy to think of, honestly, it's not. If you do your research, boom, you have 100x right there on something you never would have just dismissed with that typical logic. But again, it's harder. Yes, I'm not arguing that it's not. It is harder to get those bigger returns at bigger market caps, but don't write it off just because of it. Beam's extremely solid. I think Beam still has about a 10 to 20x left in it right now. Again, not financial advice. We look further down, just kind of the top 10 here. I'm personally not that bullish on metaverse plays this bull run. And again, that narrative probably is going to come back around, especially with the Apple Vision Pro launching this year. I think that narrative will have a run this bull run. I just don't think it's going to be as strong as the meta run that happened in 21. So again, Sandbox, Decentraland, I'll probably stay away from personally just because I think there's better gains to be had elsewhere. Axie Infinity is kind of a staple game. I mean, Axie's never going to go to its all-time highs. I personally believe so, but a lot of people that left throughout the bear market are going to come back and they're going to remember, hey, Axie Infinity was a big game, from the last cycle. Let me invest into that. It's still around, and they have built quite a bit within their ecosystem since the last run. So it is quality, just one that I'm not going to be holding this time around. Gala, we've talked about Gala quite a bit. They used to be one of my favorite projects in all of crypto gaming, and then throughout the bear market, really throughout 23, they made some decisions that I personally didn't agree with. I think a lot of the community didn't agree with. So I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines of Gala this run. Ronin, I mean, if we look at daily activity and, within the gaming, markets and the gaming blockchains, Ronin's number one. I mean, and what Ronin has done here recently is actually crazy. I don't know what was up with that big dip there, but they got listed on Binance recently. They have Pixels. They have Axie Infinity all on their blockchain. They have other games building on there. I mean, they have some of the biggest games on their blockchain. So I think Ronin is also going to have a pretty big run. I mean, obviously, we saw this thing come up from about $100 million market cap, up to where it is now almost $1 billion. So a perfect example at $100 million. If this thing hits $10 billion, boom. And again, that's not even that hard to think of when you actually look at what Ronin's building, what they have going on there. I think I'm very bullish on Ronin. Superverse, I believe Elio Trades co-founded Superverse. He's a big influencer in the space as well. Superverse Super just partnered with Off the Grid, probably the biggest, game that's going to be launching this year within crypto gaming. It's the game that we see, everyone's been talking about that has, got their Xbox listing page. So I think that partnership's going to be huge for Superverse, and they've kind of rebranded, and they started off as Superfarm, like an NFT platform, I believe, but now they're kind of shifting to more of an infrastructure play within crypto gaming, connecting kind of everything, all the different blockchains, and they've made solid partnerships. I mean, Off the Grid, I believe Immutable X, Polygon, and Beam, I want to say as well. So very solid there and very bullish on Superverse. Again, this video is really just to point out a couple projects, and again, where that kind of money flow is going to be trickling down from, again, from that Bitcoin, top 20, 50 coins. Then when people get to gaming, gaming has its narrative. It's going to be the same kind of thing, I believe, just that trickle down effect. I mean, when you look at stuff like, Pixels, again, Pixels here launched actually very recently. It's sitting at about a $400 million market cap, and it is, I think Pixels does have the highest daily user activity out of all crypto gaming projects right now, I want to say, and they're building on Ronin. So obviously, I'm very bullish on Ronin. I'm very bullish on Pixels doing well long term. So I mean, I think Pixels is going to do very very well. Echelon Prime, they built out their the parallel trading game, which trading card games do very well in this space, I want to say. And they have their Colony game, which is kind of has some AI involvement. So if you're bullish on AI and gaming, Echelon Prime is definitely one that you want to have your eyes on. So I think Echelon Prime is going to do very well this bull market. XAI, they're layer 3 on Arbitrum, another gaming blockchain, gaming infrastructure, Magic. I think they were going to move over to Optimism, but the community actually voted to keep them on Arbitrum. So we'll see if that was a right move. I'm bullish on Arbitrum, but I think that they would have got a little bit more attention on Optimism. So just my opinion. Wax, sideline for me personally. Oasis is an interesting project there. Cetify, obviously, I think Cetify is going to get eaten up this bull market because everyone wants to get into those pre-sales, those launch pads, those IDOs, and holding that Cetify, the S-Fund token is how you stake to get your allocations, and it is the biggest gaming launchpad in the space, so I think it's going to do very well. Vulcan Forge, this is a project that we talked about all bear market, literally all bear market, when they were sitting at about a $70 million market cap around those $2.5 to $3 range, over the last year here. I was on this channel you can find the videos. Go back, find them, watch them, telling you guys, hey, this is a bargain, one that I have super high conviction. It was probably one of my highest convictions in crypto gaming, all bear market. And then here we are. So it's sitting at almost a $8 price tag. I mean, it got up to almost a $9 price, which is a 3 to 4x from when we entered, in the bear market. And I think Vulcan Forge is just too bullish in my opinion. It's one of the projects from the last bull cycle that I'm actually still have high conviction on. The fact that they have their layer 1 blockchain, their Elysium chain, they have built out. They have their games that they have only been improving over the bear market. They have their Metascapes, the Metaverse as a service platform. They have their node ecosystem. So much is going on within Vulcan Forge that I think it's just a no-brainer. And I think, again, if you're looking at projects from the last bull run, I think Vulcan Forge should be on your watch list. I think it's actually one that could have the opportunity to surpass its previous all-time highs. Because as we know, most of these projects are not going to do that. But Vulcan Forge is one of them that I do think does have a strong potential of doing so. Myria, again, Myria, everyone, if you're in crypto gaming, you've heard Myria quite a bit. I think Myria also is going to do very, very well. The fact that they have, I think, 100 or 150 games that are building on their platform. They also have their Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution, their blockchain here. Again, everything kind of took a dip, I think, when Bitcoin kind of corrected here. But another project, all bear market. I was like, hey, this is a steal at a $5 to $10 million market cap. A steal. That's when we were accumulating, and then now we're sitting pretty well, so I have zero complaints there, and I still have conviction on Myria really getting to around the same kind of circulated market cap that Gala Games did last bull run, which is about a $5 billion market cap. Especially when you look at this bull market, I mean, we're looking at maybe a 2 to 3x in money inflow coming into the markets. So if you look at Gala Games, got to a $5 billion market cap last run. It's not crazy for a project similar to get to a $10 to $15 billion market cap. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that Myria is almost, pretty similar to the ecosystem that Gala Games has right now. And what Gala Games has now was nowhere near what it had when it hit those highs last bull market. So please keep that in mind. Here's Amavia, another one that we talked about, in the bear market, and before it even came out, way before it came out. This game, it's easily has the most downloads as far as a mobile game goes in crypto gaming. It's kind of a Clash of Clans, battle royale, or a Clash of Clans base building game. Sorry. And they just made a bullish announcement on their Twitter that they actually just chose Base, which is Coinbase's blockchain, Coinbase's L2. They chose Base to actually build their game or build their platform on, which I think is very bullish. Again, we saw Echelon Prime do the same thing earlier last year in 2023. That summer, they built on Base and they reaped the rewards from that. And I think that, Base is actually going to prove itself to be kind of a sleeper as far as catalyst events and propellants for projects to have. So I think that was actually a pretty good move on Heroes of Mavia's part. The only other blockchain I could see them that would have been nice to see them go on is maybe like Ronin or Solana, but I think Base makes too much sense, honestly. So good to see there with Heroes of Mavia. Nakamoto Games, I think, again, if you're looking at a project that offers so many games on their platform, I think Nakamoto Games is one that's going to be very interesting to look at this bull market. Guild of Guardian, a top quality game building on Immutable X. Victoria VR, I know they're revamped their platform a little bit. They're from the last bull market, and they're building out like a VR game, which not too many people are really focusing on. It looks quality. I'm just not as bullish as VR games as I am something like mobile gaming, but again, we'll see. My neighbor Alice, a project from the last bull market that, again, kind of a sideline for me this time. And I'm telling you guys what I'm kind of sidelining, what I'm not, just answering some questions. Wild World, again, if the metaverse trend kind of comes back around, I know it's more than just a metaverse play, but I think it's kind of the stigma or the staple that it has on its name. So if that narrative comes back around, I think Wilder World is probably the top quality project in the metaverse kind of niche or narrative. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when that narrative comes around. Gods Unchained, I mean, it's when you talk about Immutable X, you have to talk about Gods Unchained because it is Immutable X's flagship, the first game to launch on Immutable X. It's a trading card game, probably one of the more successful ones because really this thing just does not die. It does not go away. I mean, all bear market, we saw it not even get really that beaten up. I mean, it took about almost like a 50 to 70% correction or deduction in the bear market, which isn't that bad, seeing as how most projects went down 99%. And again, they kept their player base really throughout the bear market, which is solid and strong. And I think that they're never going to go away, and they're never going to not be Immutable X's original flagship game. So I think there's always going to be a place for Gods Unchained, which also kind of helps prove the point of trading card games and crypto gaming just works. That's my opinion. They just work. I mean, it makes too much sense. With NFTs, people can get their cards. They can learn the lore of those cards within each different ecosystem. And again, people are doing it anyways in real life. When you think about trading card games, baseball cards, those are pretty much physical NFTs that people are buying and kind of just storing for value and then selling them. It's very similar when you really think about it. So I think, again, trading card games make too much sense since it's kind of already done in everyday life. Again, that's just my opinion. Ultra, another one that's kind of, they have a lot going for themselves in their ecosystem with all the games that they have. Their Ultra launcher, kind of a Steam of crypto gaming, of Web3. They're going to be launching their own in-house game, which I think is actually going to be honestly one of the more bullish catalysts for their ecosystem. I think it's called Project Citadel. It actually looks very crisp. We've covered it in the past. The graphics on it look insane. It's an FPS game, so I think it's going to do well as well. Kind of like what we've seen with like the likes of Shrapnel and even Off the Grid as far as hype goes. I just think they have to get that game out. I think they're taking a little bit of time. They've had all bear market, and I didn't hear about really Project Citadel till towards the end of last year. So I wish they would have maybe kind of hopped on that a little sooner, but I'm still very bullish on Ultra. Mines of Delarnia, I actually liked playing Mines of Delarnia last bull market quite a bit. I actually made a video on it saying that it was one of the more fun crypto games of the last cycle. I just think that it doesn't have a place for me this time around, but that's just me. Veracity, I'm very bullish on Veracity. I'm not going to talk about it too much just because I don't really classify it as crypto gaming, but I know some people do, some people don't, but I think it's more than that, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I am bullish on it. I get that question. Full disclosure, I do hold Veracity. I am bullish on it, so we'll see what happens there. Alien Worlds, not too bullish on it. Sweat Economy, I'm impartial. The Root Network is actually another one that is a pretty good metaverse play. They partnered with Ready Player One, I believe, beginning of this year, I want to say, to kind of make the Oasis metaverse a thing, so that'll be interesting. Again, kind of the kind of project that you would look if the metaverse kind of narrative picks up. It is a layer 1 as well, so a lot of interesting things they're going through the Root Network and good partnerships. So one that I would definitely have on my radar. Shrapnel, I think Shrapnel is right now at the time of this recording, before stuff like Off the Grid comes out or anything else. I think it's positioned itself to be the top game on Avalanche. I mean, it looks pretty quality. They've ran tournaments here recently. I think that listed on the Epic Games Store. People have been playing it. It's pretty fun. I mean, we saw it run up to almost $100 million in market cap. I mean, this thing launched at about 20 to 30 million on the public market. So I think that, long term, Shrapnel has a lot of room left in it. We are going to start seeing unlocks, and I made a video on that about a week or so ago. by the time this comes out, so you can actually watch that video, look at the unlocking schedule. But I think, the unlocks, I think people are going to, there might be selling pressure just out of FUD, but I don't expect it to affect it, at least the later unlocks later in the year, as much as people are thinking. The early unlocks are going to, sting a little bit. They're monthly unlocks. So, again, that'll be coming in about April, end of April, early May, I want to say, if I remember right. So, it'll be interesting there. But I think Shrapnel is going to kill it. I think it's going to get, personally, a couple billions as far as circulating market cap goes. That's not even the fully diluted. So, one that I definitely, again, am holding. So, one that I would definitely have my eyes on. Altura. Now, right up there with Vulcan Forge, Altura was my number one project as far as conviction goes, all bear market, and from the last cycle. Altura, I love Altura personally and everything that they are doing. I think that the partnership that they were making all bear market just were totally slept on. They were making partnerships nonstop. They were actually integrating with games. So many infrastructure, projects will, sell the idea of something, or like, hey, we can help developers plug in or do this. Altura actually made the partnerships, actually made NFT marketplaces for different games, like Wagme Games as an example. I mean, if you go on their Twitter, you'll see partnerships nonstop. So I think Altura, and it's good to see that it's getting some love here now, because it actually was kind of lagging for a little bit. Over the 1 month here, it's up 70%, which is insane. Got to about a $30 million market cap, and now it is, around that $70 million market cap. So I think Altura is just, again, a no-brainer if you're looking at infrastructure play to have in your portfolio. And I think last bull market, it got to, I think, like 45 cents around there. And I think it was like a $150 to $200 million market cap. And this is one that I think is going to $1 billion. And I think it's just going to completely eclipse its previous all-time highs. But again, not financial advice. But if you look at the partnership they were making, it actually did just partner with Superverse. So another titan in the gaming markets, and they're not done yet. So one to definitely have in your opinion. A perfect example of if it was around last bull market, don't write it off. I mean, not every project. Obviously, a majority of projects from the last bull market are not gonna hit their all-time highs from the last cycle in market caps or price. So yes, you have to cut your losses sometimes, move on to the new shiny objects. That's what retail is really gonna do, but there's still quality projects from the last bull market if you just sift through and do the research, and I think Altura is definitely one of them. So please don't write it off just because it was around last time. I think it's one that is definitely going to do killer. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. Citus. Citus Heroes is, Citus is one of the tokens within the Citus Heroes ecosystem. They have Citus and Senate. I get questions on, why isn't Senate moving versus Citus? Well, I mean, they just came out with their launch pad, their Citus pad, and their news with their launch pad is that we saw it kind of run up. I think due to that news is because with their launch pad, you actually need the Citus token, which is the in-game utility token, to actually stake and get allocation for the launch pad, versus the Senate is actually going to be what is used to be voting projects in and out of the launch pad. So I wish it was the other way around personally, but it does make sense because, again, Citus is a little bit cheaper as far as value goes. So I think maybe they're looking at it as it's easier for people to actually hold more quantity of actual Citus tokens to lock up versus Senate tokens. That's my guess, but I think we'll see it maybe later in this video. But I mean, Citus is at a $60 million market cap, whereas Senate is at about a $15 million market cap. So I think Senate has definitely the room to catch up to Citus when people really start putting the two together. But again, I want to touch on that. Again, we made a video on that a couple days ago, so I just want to bring that up. Games for a living. I think games for a living, people ask me about this one also of like, hey, why isn't games for a living moving? Well, I mean, if you look at it, I think what hurts games for a living 100% is the marketing, which if you look at the roadmap and follow the team, they're going to step it up here soon. But if you look at the team here, the project, I mean, people always say, one of my favorite things that people have said, and I've said in the past, is that if you take the team away from games for a living, are you still bullish? And if the answer is no, then it's not for you. I am, because the projects, the games that they have launched, the Elemental Raiders, still a quality game. Got, I think, a most played game or top game and the Gamer Awards at the end of 2023. Good quality game. They have other games coming. They're going to be porting over to mobile and Xbox for their other projects. They have another game launching this year. And again, they haven't even begun marketing, and their chart looks very, healthy and organic. So I'm very bullish on games for a living. They do have monthly unlocks, but they don't seem to affect the price a lot right now. But again, I think games for a living goes one of two ways for people, and that's the way that I stand. So NFT Worlds, they've migrated to Hytopia now, and I think Hytopia is going to do very well. Hello Labs is more of an entertainment. WAGMI Games with their WAGMI Defense, I think mobile game, I think it's going to do very well. They have good partnerships there and good influencers, big influencers talk about them. You probably know the ones. Gamercoin GHX is one that I'm not personally involved with. I have to do more research in, but that also seems to be getting a lot of traction currently. D-Race, I think if you're looking for a horse racing platform, I think Crown by Third Time Games on Solana is definitely the horse racing move this time around instead of a D-Race or Pegaxi or Z-Run. I think Crown's definitely the way to go. G Swift, I'm going to start going through these a little bit faster so this video's not a little bit too longer. But again, just want to give you guys some opinions, some updated thoughts on some of these projects. I get questions about all of them all the time. So these longer form videos, I want to take the chance to kind of go over a lot of these, especially if none of these are brought to your attention, give you my thoughts on them. So let me know in the comments below if you guys like these kind of longer format videos, and I'll keep doing them. But GameSwift, at a $40 million market cap, again, they have a modular ZK or ZK VM. I always forget it. But gaming blockchain, they're their only modular gaming blockchain. They have a bunch of games coming to their platform. They are more of an infrastructure play. They're gonna have their nodes. They're gonna have nodes in their ecosystem here soon. Their tokenomics are actually not that bad. If you look at it, I know, not that bad, but in crypto gaming, they're really not. I know there's not a lot of the supply out, but about 40% of it is locked up when you actually look at it, and the unlocking schedule is not as bad as you think, or as it looks at. We've made videos on that in the past on GameSwift, but one that I definitely look into for yourself. Do your own research on the tokenomics here before, again, writing it off. I think a lot of people do that on GameSwift, and it's kind of upsetting because it's quality. UFO gaming, again, I look at it as more of a, it's not a bad thing. It's more of almost like a meme within crypto gaming. But again, they do have their dark metaverse. Last I checked, I haven't checked on them in a while. But again, more of something that was from the last bull market that I'm not really going to be holding myself this time around. But I do think UFO gaming. This is what I want to compare or bring up to your attention. That UFO gaming, I want to say, if it'll show me, I got to about $1 billion in market cap last bull run. So when people tell me, hey, Games for a Living, Myria, GameSwift, they're not going to get over $1 billion. Well, look at UFO gaming. They didn't really have a whole lot to offer last bull run rather than the name. And they got, I think a lot of people looked at it as oh, I missed out on Gala, UFO gaming. And they got to $1 billion. So, you have no idea how insane things are going to get here soon. Farcana, I think, is, you can compare it almost like a Blood Loop of sense, except maybe the Blood Loop on Polygon. It's actually a very quality looking game. I feel like they launched kind of under the radar. I think a lot of the hype and attention really got more shifted towards Blood Loop. I think Blood Loop definitely has more of a hype than Farcana does, but similar games, 5v5, third-person shooters, matches, I think it's very similar. And again, at a $35 million circulating market cap, it's one that I'd be looking at, but I'm kind of on that side. I do want to see how Blood Loop launches just because I'm more bullish personally on Avalanche Gaming than I am on Polygon Gaming, but that's just my personal opinion. But I do believe Polygon, again, will have its run, and gaming underneath Polygon will also have its run as well. Katana Inu, they have a good-looking game. I don't know. Kata is one that I'm personally not invested in, but they do have a good-looking fighter game. It does look good. It's just I'm not personally involved with it. Splinterlands is a last cycle trading card game, one that I probably wouldn't touch at all. Vault Inu, probably wouldn't touch. DeFi Kingdoms, I think DeFi Kingdoms will do well because it was Avalanche's first subnet, and they have good volume. They have good user base, but I don't know. Again, it's one that I'm not personally jumping to get involved with, but I think it will do okay. People get defensive about DeFi Kingdoms and the Jewel token and what they've kind of been building, but I like DeFi Kingdoms. I used it. I had videos on it back in the day. I liked it. It was very cool. It was a genius platform, gamified DEX. And again, first Avalanche subnet, alongside Crabata with their Swimmer subnet. So I think there's a place there always for DeFi Kingdom in the Jewel subnet, but it's one that I'm kind of, again, not going to get involved with. Playable games, almost again like the Gala games of Avalanche, one that I am a big fan of. Decentral games, pretty interesting. Medicaid, I haven't done enough research on Medicaid to really make a decision on. Creo Engine, one that we've talked about in the past. I think Creo Engine ran hard, it did over 100x towards Christmas time of 23, late December. So again, it's kind of hard to validate getting into something like that, but it's a quality project, and I think it's getting kind of cheap if you miss that initial run. I think Creo Engine is going to have a lot left in it, leading up into this bull market. But yeah, if we look here, I mean, it was several hundred thousand, not million, thousands, and at the peak, it almost got to it did get over 40 million. So yeah, it's kind of insane for me personally, but It's a quality project. We've covered it. It's a quality project. Game Zone, again, from the last cycle, but I think they'll do okay. Ad Shares, I think they're kind of getting beaten up. I don't think they have the attention they do. Gamey, again, Gamey, we've covered it in the past too. It's a good mobile gaming platform that's I believe they got built originally on where you can actually open their app within Telegram, and they have a lot of games, a lot of downloads, a lot of projects going on there. They've been around for quite a while. If we look over the 1 year, again, we've covered this. They had a hack recently, it was a smart contract hack or a wallet hack, not a smart contract. It was a wallet hack from one of the team's wallets, but the contract itself was completely fine. So in my Patreon, I actually sent a buy alert here when it got down to like a $5 million market cap. And then, because I had high convictions, and then it went up to, continued to go back up to like a $25 million market cap. So, nice little win there. Just want to point that out. Again, Patreon, first link in the description below if you're interested. Step app, man, I was bullish on Step app. It was just launched at the wrong time last bull market, and I think the move to earn isn't going to make as strong of a comeback. Monkey Ball or UnkJ or Uncaged, I've heard it called so many different things. They have a good project here, the UnkG, the MBS token, but again, I think there's better gaming projects on Solana that are going to be new for this bull market. Like, again, that's just my opinion. Aurora, Decimated, other good projects on Solana as well, all sitting, oddly enough, at about a $17 million market cap. But again, all good. They're all on Solana, all three of these. I think they're all good. But if I had to put it in order, I'd probably go Aurora, Decimated, and Monkey Ball, or Uncage, or Unkch. I don't really know how to say that. Nobody seems to know how to say it, which it's interesting there. Epic Prime, yep, just bringing it up. But Senate, again, the governance token and the Citus Heroes ecosystem. We'll go through this page, and then we'll kind of call it here, kind of go through this. Plays app, again, it's kind of like another mobile gaming hub or aggregator, except on Binance. I'm not as bullish on PlaysApp as I would be on something like an OTK on Solana, but I've said that multiple times. Unix Gaming, I think, is a sleeping giant on Avalanche. They're going to be having, I think, their own subnet. They have Play on Owned. Again, good partnerships there. They've been building all bear market. I think that's one that slept on. Affinity, I was bullish on them last bull cycle, but I am not as much this bull market just because, again, you don't hear of any games or projects building on Engine, which I think Affinity falls underneath Engine. So also, if you really look into it, I think they made Affinity because some Engine didn't solve some kind of problem. I knew more about it back in the day, but I've never really seen the point for Affinity versus Engine. So that whole ecosystem I'm not really that bullish on, but that's just my opinion. All these are going to do well, by the way. Please keep that in mind. These are all going to do well. It's just a matter of, really picking out the best ones in your opinion, what works for you, your risk tolerance. But again, this is just a video to kind of go over some of these projects that I get a lot of questions about. Let me know in the comments below, what are some of these questions, or what are some of these projects that you're bullish on that we aren't covering in this video, or that we have covered in the past and you think maybe I blew off or I should look more into. Let me know and I will do so. But again, we'll cover up a couple here towards the end. MetaFighter, again, a gaming platform, or it's like a Street Fighter game on the Binance network. Again, they have a Mexi listing coming up here soon. I think it's actually coming out today at the time of this recording, coming out. So pretty exciting there. It's gonna be their first, centralized exchange listing, Mexi. So pretty bullish to see there. It's always good to get a centralized exchange listing. I think that's why we're seeing the price action that we have seen, but it's ran up quite a bit. But again, I mean, from like 400K to 1.5 million, so not that much, but just, be, cognitive about the run up. So, but still at such a low market cap, I think it's going to do fine. But when you look at the chart, it doesn't look that great. I would be a little bit more bullish on something like maybe like a Bit Brawl that's coming out on Solana here soon, project that we'll be covering here in the future. Tin, I'm not that bullish on Aptos Gaming, so I get that project all the time, and I'm not a big fan of it. If you look at their website, it looks like a newspaper clipping, so I'm not that bullish on Tin personally. Definitive Finance, kind of a last cycle token, but it was a fun game. It had a big player base, and yeah, I'm sure it will get some attention. Corbata, they actually ended their whole game program application last year or in 2022. It's kind of a bummer because I had a bunch of crabs snip snip, but now those crabs are not snip snipping anymore. They just sit dormant. So that's sad. But moving on here, again, that's kind of the end of this page. And again, there's so many crypto gaming tokens. I can't cover them all in one video. It would honestly be pretty impossible to do. So let me know in the comments below. Again, if there's other projects you want me to cover, or if you guys have any questions. But again, just wanted mainly to get on here and tell you guys, hey, this is what Bitcoin's doing. This is kind of the money flow. This is what I'm looking at as far as crypto gaming goes. And again, AI is another narrative or sector that I think is going to be very, very hot this bull market. Again, there is some AI projects that I'm looking at personally, but again, I don't know enough to be comfortable talking about them. It's not really my niche that I really, deep dive into. If we were looking at some AI projects that kind of cross over with crypto gaming, I'd be looking at Echelon Prime and Delysium. I think Delysium has ran up super hard though, so I'd be a little worried about bringing that up. So just something to keep note of. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys. And if you guys can like the video, comment, subscribe to the notification bell, and share the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, see you guys.